most of the people that are in the photography community, like, they're awkward and they're weird, and like having a passion like this, like, it's awkward and weird. Like, I really don't talk about like photography with most of the people and like in other parts of my life because people don't get it.
The time is now to take action. Trying to get it stuck in distractions. Ask a question, then expect a reaction. Put an end to the madness. Put the paint to the canvas. Shine the light for the pathless. Man, you can't antagonize me. Nah, I'ma do as I please. Yeah, they tried to call the police. Why? Cause I'll be going to meets. Thanks for the invite. We'd rather die on our feet. Why? Than to live on our knees. We're a shepherd, not sheep. You can't antagonize me. Nah, I'ma do as I please. Matter of fact, we've been stuck in the matrix. Taught the basics, nothing about chakras or spaceships. In a dimensional flow without parameters, calculating the course. Nothing happens by accident. No one prepared us for this type of life. It takes a strong back to carry the weight of 100 knives. A crooked system will never listen to justice.
11 police break up a large crowd in Boyle Heights tonight as hundreds of people showed up for a flash mob. Participants describe it as a meetup for photographers and videographers expressing their creative side. But they took over the street and bridge at 7th and Rio. Some people were even seen shooting off small fireworks.
About 2 years ago, I went to a photography meetup. It was the first time that I had ever seen like fire and smoke and models just like out in the street, like doing their thing. And that's really when I got sucked into it. A photo meetup is an event for all kinds of people to come together and network with each other. They can come out, it can be an artist, a model, a photographer, whatever kind of artist you are, you can come out and network with other people. It's really a great way to hang out. There's a lot of people that they're very busy in their other lives. And when they find the photo meetups and the photo meetup community, it's just something completely different, something life-changing for them.
It's just creation, man. Like, we're getting creative. People are coming together and collaborating and trying to create images.
I started seeing a lot of Los Angeles photography was popping up in my feed, and a lot of like fire breathers and smoke grenades and just these really, really cool pictures, and I had no idea what this was. I obviously started following them. One of my friends' Instagram was Hsieh, who's a fire breather and performer and artist, and he basically told me about the photo meet and the culture behind it, how like there's just dozens and hundreds of photographers that go out and people just create together.
Most likely you're gonna love being around people that are just not judging you for anything. And photos is what brought everyone together like that, but it's a really nice thing to know that people just of all backgrounds like to take photos. It doesn't matter the food you eat, what you believe in, just people who take photos enjoy the fact that they can capture that moment. You're removing yourself from the comfort of being home and isolated, because we've been socialized to be okay with being isolated, and people don't know that. People just feel like this is what life has been, but this is not what life has been. People used to go and, I'm gonna be by this payphone at this time, call me because I'm gonna be there, we'll see what we're gonna do. They didn't have pagers, they didn't have cell phones, they didn't have electronic, any form of communication other than the telephone, or I'm gonna go to this person's house, tell them I'm gonna hang out later. If they want, then come by, but that was it. Now we're so used to like, what's happening, what's going on, who wants to talk to me, who wants to do that, I'm bored, I don't like this. Dude, just shut the fuck up and just, who cares?
Yeah, I've been there though, a couple times. I've had my social isolation. They think that the person, like through the screens, life is better, but then again, you never really know because people post what they want you to see.
I think that's why like new anxieties and new social problems have come across, like FOMO, you know, like fear of missing out. Because you see all these things that come across your feed, and the next thing you know, you wish you were there, or you feel like your life is so horrible, and you start to think like people are living such a better life compared to you, and you know, you feel like you're stuck at home, like you're stuck in a little room, when at the end of the day, all you have to really do is walk outside.
It took me almost 2 years to get to my first meet, because there is always something that you don't know what you're gonna find. So it's a little bit, you know, like, oh, no, right now, but then I went there, I get addicted. I can't help myself. I need a meet every day. Now it's a therapy.
It's something that most people go through, if not everybody, some sort of feeling where they need to find something that makes them just content, not even happy. That day when I finally decided after years of personal stuff going on, then I just figured I'm gonna go meet people in public, and if I want to see them again, then I'll continue going. If not, I'll just remove myself from that. I just went, and if I didn't like it, then I wasn't gonna go back. But it did open up a whole new branch of public activity I wasn't aware of. So I thought it was nice, and people of all ages show up. So I thought that was cool too, because we learn from anybody, whatever age, whatever background. So it was a nice place.
When I find out there's a meet, I'm just like, oh my God, I want to go so bad. So me and my mom look at the flyers, see where the location's at, look at all the settings and things, and we try to pick something that goes best with the location and surroundings.
If you start to come into the community and you start to come to the different meets, you'll start to notice that each meet has its own personality. Street Meet LA is usually always on a random Sunday, once a month. It's very family oriented, it's very mature, as opposed to most of the other meets where they're like young kids learning. A lot of these photographers have been photographers for a long time, but they've never been to this type of event where they're shooting with, like so many different people at the same time.
All right, you guys, I just want to thank you guys for coming to Street Meet LA. Are you guys excited?
I've been following great photographers on Instagram that I loved, and I thought there's got to be a cool way to meet with these other photographers, like something fun, interactive. What could I do? So yeah, about a year and a half ago, I thought, why not host a photo meet for the first time? I just publicized it on social media, and the first meet was a huge hit, and I got over 100 people.
I just kept hanging out with people after I went to the first meets, and then I was bummed out personally that they would happen once a month. Sometimes they didn't have them, but man, this is lame. I'm not gonna be waiting around just to meet up like that.
It's already been around, I want to say a year or 2 years. And so the first year, I used to try to go out to them as much as possible. And that's actually where I ended up meeting a lot of the people that I had been looking up to for a long time, one of them being Yancy. I ran into Yancy's work because he ended up shooting a model that I was shooting. The next time that we had a session, she was telling me oh, there's another great photographer that lives in this area, you should see his work. And when I saw his work, I was just dude, I hate this person. It was just so dope that even now, back when I look back at those pictures, I think those pictures are so dope. I remember being that, that jealousy, damn you just killed this shot, I hate you.
His pictures are different. Yeah, it's a dark twist. The eyes, he makes the eyes pop out more,
The way he brings it to life in a photo, it's just awesome. His edits are...
I really liked Yancy photography, and you can tell it's his photography.
He's pretty much, I've told him too, he introduced me to this whole thing, this whole scene, Because of him, I met Hector, because of him, I met Trinity, because of him, I met all these amazing people, the reason why I'm even involved.
I had seen him at other meets, but I really didn't know it was him because he wears a mask. I remember even thinking to myself, dude, who the hell is this person with this mask? And finally at a Street Meet LA, I saw him from afar and I walk up to him and I tell him, I was hey, are you Yancy? And he was just yeah. And I was dude, I'm Hector. And I remember him giving me a huge hug and being what's up, bro? Finally we get to meet.
I would myself go shoot a lot by myself or with other people, but I would always invite people. And when they would see my photos, they would put TFTI, and I didn't know what that meant. I just was huh?
We all used to be on a group message. So finally one day Yancy got on the group message really upset, and he was just dude, what is TFTI?
Someone says oh, TFTI to something, and I was dude, hold up, I have to go for give me 10 minutes.
What is TFTI? And we're thanks for the invite. And he was oh my God, that's what that means? That's so stupid. Especially because a lot of times we would invite people. So for them to then later say, TFTI, we're just kind of dude, you should have just came.
So I make a new email account, I make the page, and I just put TFTI LA. I went back to the group chat and be hey, you guys are all part of this. If you guys want, if you don't, then I don't care. But you guys need to put some effort into it.
Dude, I just created TFTI, the Instagram, you guys are all in it.
It was so funny to me to be able to see that people didn't care for individuals, as much as they care about a company or an organization or a group, they don't want to affiliate themselves with one person if that person doesn't seem like it's an adequate exchange for their time. When I did this page, it was, if you guys don't accept this like entity as an open invitation to anybody from any background, then you guys are very closed-minded and need to understand that it is just yourselves that are not going out to shoot with other people. The few meets I've been to, they were once a month. Again, I didn't like that because someone missed 1 month and that was a 2-month gap between the first one and then the following. And I don't feel like people can get better once a month. Like, I feel like we need to hang out more often. Keep doing it. And if you don't like it, then you'll stop because you feel like it's too much work, because you'll realize that that is what it is.
Because in the beginning, they weren't really meets, they were photo walks. You would start someplace and then walk like 15 blocks and then walk 15 blocks back to your car. I think it wasn't really until TFTI where our meets basically stayed like within maybe like a 1 block, 2 block radius. And that's just because we don't like to walk, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna walk 15 blocks. I mean, I've walked 15 blocks, but I wasn't happy about it. You expect something from a photo meetup. They're like a big crowd or performers. There was something behind it, like people wanted to be entertained. For us, when we started hanging out, like that's what it was. It was us hanging out, you know, it was us going out, exploring the city. At the end of the day, the feeling behind it was us hanging out. So we decided to not say that it was a meetup, it was more of a hangout. And I think the next year, like 2 days later, like we decided to hang out.
I did it November 22nd or November 23rd, 2015. Put a flyer up, put tomorrow we're gonna be here, come through, everyone's invited. Anybody, don't do illegal things. We're just hanging out in public, taking photos, that's it.
We kind of got there, people were eating pizza that day because we weren't really sure people were gonna come, and as like the time kept rolling up, like random people just started showing up.
This isn't somewhere where someone's like, you better go, otherwise you're gonna get penalized or you're gonna get in trouble. Because really, the only thing that happens if you don't come here is that you didn't show up there and you did something else.
We ended up having a meet where we had like 200 people show up, like on a Friday, and it was a little too much for us. It was really hard to control a crowd. That's when we started letting people know, like the day of, maybe 8 hours before.
I love TFTI because it's always gory. Like, see people with like blood on their faces, like skeletons, freaking Bloody Mary, like all kinds of crazy stuff.
I think Jancy, it's a person that don't listen to people. What I'm trying to say is that he's not a pleaser. He's not doing this to please others, as many other photo meetings. He let us create without boundaries, not with rules, that this is what you have to do, this is what you have to do. So I think because of he don't listen people, he's making the meetings so great.
You know, like there's a lot of new people coming, and he tends to like be, well, he is friendly. So he starts talking to them, and then they're like, man, I wonder who hosted this like meet. And he's like, yeah, me too, like I love these. It's so funny because I'm just like, if only you knew you're talking to the person that's hosting the meet. He loves like covering his identity, I guess you can say.
There's places like TFTI where there's people to guide it, but then we really honestly just kind of go out and do our own thing. What I've seen, and I feel like that's how it works, is just let it go and just let it be.
Getting rid of that line between big and small, where you have to be in some bigger room to work with certain individuals. And I started noticing that out of the photo meets, was you could take somebody who had 3 followers and 2 likes, and they would still have the same opportunity and platform as somebody else to shoot. So the exposure level was huge for the artists to be able to come out and utilize these meets and other people's talents in a conjuncture to make bigger effects, I guess, for their shoots, or to provide elements of themselves they couldn't otherwise bring. So all of that coming together, I believe, has created a platform and a brewing pot, ultimately think tanks of sorts, that then keep growing, keep multiplying. It's all exponential. So every person, every tool, every new something that shows up to the circle creates a new chain reaction, a new pebble in the pond.
first meet I went to was the week before Halloween. And we're just going through Instagram and we noticed like, oh, thanks for the invite, like TFTI. And I was like, what's this? So we clicked on it and I guess like, oh, it says wear costume, like paint your face, like come crazy. And we looked at each other like, we got like 2 hours. All right, let's do something. So she spends 2 hours, draws a skull on my face, like puts everything the whole 9 yards. And then I looked in my closet, I'm like, high-waisted jeans, okay, white crop top. And then I was like, why don't we throw in a baseball bat? Why not? And so I threw in a leather jacket and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go with it. And it's funny because like, I walk in there and you just see a huge group of people just like shooting. And I was a little bit overwhelmed and my best friend Bobby just looked at me and she was like, you know what, girl, just walk in and watch, they'll just shoot you. And I was like, I don't know. She's like, just walk. And I was like, okay. I walked straight through. I was mauled by, I think, 30, 40 photographers on me at one time. And it was crazy. It threw me off guard. Like, everyone was just shooting me and they wouldn't put the cameras down. That is, like, the first time in my life I've ever experienced something like that. Like, I felt like a celebrity for a cool 2 seconds. It was awesome. And I was spammed with pictures from like that night. The second I got home, I checked the tag and I just saw my face everywhere. And then people were like, oh, do you want to shoot? Do you want to shoot? Do you want to shoot? And it's like, whoa, like I didn't think it was going to be something so big. So ever since then, like I followed the page, I followed Yancy, I followed Hector, like, and I kind of made a little mission with myself. I was like, okay, I'm going to try and shoot with them one day. But for now, like I'm going to keep going to the meets and just trying to keep like improving, you know what I mean? So that was like how I found it, just scrolling through Instagram randomly.
I'm a single mom of 3 girls. My oldest daughter is Trinity, who started modeling about a year ago or so already. Our family thing is being creative. In one way or another, we all love creativity. Anything that has to do with using your mind and, you know, just expanding your horizon, we're all down for it.
I think Karen is awesome. It's cool that she's able to do that with her kids and that her kids are able to enjoy it. Because these are going to be memories that later on that they're going to have of things that they did as a family.
My name is Trinity Corona, and my Instagram's name is @_designs by Karen.
And I remember meeting Trinity when she was really young. I think she was about 11 when she came out. I remember the first time I saw her, she was wearing like a bunny mask. It was like completely random to see somebody that was like 10 or 11 wearing a bunny mask. When she came out, she definitely added something new and something completely different because until then, like a lot of the models had always been older. When she came out, it was just like gore from a child and it was like, what the hell? But it worked. To see her grow up now and see her really transition from like having gore and costumes to like fashion, it's been a cool experience. And like, I'm sure for her, it's been an awesome experience also. Because she's been able to not only express herself, but really like come out of her shell. I think for her, the costumes in the beginning were kind of a way to hide who she was. When she grows up and she starts telling people or shows people these pictures, or maybe even her kids someday, like this is what I was doing when I was your age. I know a lot of people who see her as an inspiration, like an 11-year-old little girl, like as an inspiration.
I just want to let like all the models out there like know that they don't have to starve to be a model and be super skinny or super tall, that you could be a model no matter what, that you don't have to be that specific way. That's what makes modeling amazing, when you're different.
So my name is Michelle and my Instagram is The Wicked Lady. It usually just started out with me just taking pictures of myself, and then the second I started dyeing my hair and changing up my style, people just started noticing it. And one of the companies that I worked for actually sponsored me with some of their stuff, and I guess that just started my following. So usually people or companies will message me or email me asking me if I want some of their stuff, and they'll send it to me for free, and I'll sponsor them by taking pictures of them, wearing the outfits, showing off the product, just posting it on my Instagram and on my blog. They'll usually either compensate with money or they'll pay me a commission if there's like a coupon code involved. There's a couple companies that I actually like fell in love with, and I thought maybe I'll give it a go and I'll send them an email asking them if they want to collaborate. And luckily I got a yes, and a couple companies have sponsored me and worked with me, and I've had a lot of fun with it.
I know plenty of models who like go from wanting to be in front of a camera to be behind a camera, and it's because I mean, at the end of the day, like a lot of us, like we just want to express ourselves.
If you're new into this kind of stuff, or if you want to start modeling, you want to start, taking pictures, just do it, because no one's going to stop you except yourself. So if you want to get out there, fucking get out there and do your shit, kill it. Over time, you'll progress. I've come a really long way in the last year and a half, so it's been a really great experience.
For me personally, like there's been a lot of models that I've hung out with, and after a few meets, like they've come to understand. They even say like, oh, I want to buy my own camera and I want to give it a try, because it is something that's very fun and it is something that you're creating.
I model for TFTI sometimes. Usually I just like to post pictures on Instagram and build my page to help my photography one, but I don't really do a lot of modeling, but it is fun. Eventually I would like to quit my day job and just do photography full time and be able to travel. So I don't want to do the 9 to 5 traffic 2 hours a day type of job anymore.
My name is Samantha Gomez, and my Instagram name is samanthanicole.jpg. I didn't really know what to put as my username, and I just figured JPEG since it's pictures. I'll be posting pictures, I think my first meet was in probably May, June. I was really, really nervous. That was probably the most photographers that I had worked with at one time.
People start to surround you, and I don't know if it's just me, but I get really extra confident out there, and I just feel like I'm in a music video, and it just makes me want to keep coming back for more because the people are fun. I get to make friends, I get awesome photos, and it opens doors to everywhere. Without this, I would not be where I am right now, in the world of photos. And now I'm just chilling in an alley right now with all my friends taking photos and putting off smoke bombs and stuff, and it's great. I love TFTI. Thank you for the invite.
I'ma let the words flow, yell loud, ready, set, go. Heaven know this ain't the next episode, this ain't the next episode. This is where the story's been told, where the truth is exposed. The time is now to take action. Trying to get us stuck in distractions. Ask a question, then expect a reaction. Put an end to the madness. Put the paint to the canvas. Shine the light for the pathless. Man, you can't antagonize me. Nah, I'ma do as I please. I'ma do as I please.
When I wake up in the morning before school, I tend to just stare in the mirror and I'm like, what are you feeling today, How do you feel? But yeah, once I go to school, let's say I have this on my face at school, people will just stare at me, either smile, some guys would laugh, but I don't really pay attention to them because they're irrelevant. The teachers, basically everybody's used to it, but in the beginning, people would be like, oh, they actually let you come in school like that? And I was like, yeah, they did. It's not a mask, So yeah, but everybody's used to it now. Usually they compliment me. So once people started noticing me going to school back to back with faces, they would ask me, oh, do you mind doing this for me, here and there? And then you know how I wear the little beads right here? I started seeing girls wearing the little diamonds on their faces, and I was like, hey, started a trend.
Rexkless. I think she's an inspiration for so many people. I think she was pioneer on, coming out the street with, all the face painted.
Puig and I collaborated once, and it was in my local park, which is literally 5 minutes away from me, and it's called Salt Lake Park. So right there, we shot, we collaborated, and I was a punk, and I killed the look. And ooh, his pictures, dude, his edits are amazing. They looked badass, they could be on billboards.
She always do something different. If I have to compare a makeup artist with my photography, I think she will be Rexkless. It's always doing something different.
Usually when I work with Rex, it's usually she wakes up in the morning, I guess she feels a certain way, puts her makeup on, and later on she's like, hey, what are you doing? And we end up taking photos.
Heck Turtle is one of my #1 friends. Our first fucking photo shoot, one-on-one, we killed it, and we bonded right off the bat. It was for Christmas. He came out to my house. It was in front of my front door, literally, because we have lights. So it looked really cute. And like during that time, I was so happy. He inspires me a lot and pushes me a lot to become a better me. And he's always like giving me advice, which I take sometimes because I'm very stubborn. It was so nice because I would hang out with Hector and like everybody else from the meets. I'd go to the meets back to back and just meet new people, obviously. I would do looks inspired by my favorite like horror movies, like Joker, Chucky. And then you become the character, like if you choose to. I love that. If you're a beginner, well, I would say always be aware of who you're shooting with. Make sure you ask others if you know like any photographers in the community or like just anybody. If you have any mutual friends, just make sure you ask them about that person first before going out with them. And if you do, and if it's your first time meeting that person, always take a friend.
Blood Bones, I feel like she puts in a lot of work into her mask. She does a lot of makeup and special effects, and she learned all off of YouTube, and I know she puts in a lot of work. There's shoots that me and her have been planning for months because we need like special latex and special paint and you know, like all these different things.
Even though I'm a makeup artist for other people, I just do it on myself because it's a way to express myself, and that's how I first started practicing and learning, and it's most comfortable. Well, usually the meets, when you find out about them, they're pretty last minute. Like they tell you like a day or two before, sometimes a week, but that's pretty rare. And so when I find out, I'm like, oh, okay, great. Like I'm gonna go and then find an idea that's gonna be very unique that people would be very drawn to. It's so often, and I feel like most people don't get that opportunity to be pushed to create something last minute or on the spot. Like I've never been around that many creative people who are willing to just help each other out and learn from each other and just meet new friends and create art together.
We're walking through the sea of people, and like some people are photographers, some people are videographers, makeup artists, and then there's the performers.
You know, you get a good 2 to 3 hours of shooting. Some people just don't want to go home. And then all of a sudden they're just like, hey, I want to try something different. And random things will just happen. Toward the end of the night, and finally, I'm Just Cause told a bunch of us, hey, I'm going to start fire breathing. And we said, okay, so we were just in the back where, you know, we were kind of away from the crowd. He was breathing fire. And all of a sudden we hear this voice say, hey, I'd like to do fire with you. And so we looked over.
Yo, Steve!
Oh my God! Everyone was stunned, and so he said, can I do fire with you? Jesse, he was holding his torch and the fuel, and here you go. And he started breathing fire. 2 breaths, he was done. He used up all the fuel. It was a huge flame. He only did it twice. I think I may have gotten like 1 or 2 shots. That was it.
I've been playing with fire literally since I was as young as I've been shooting. I'd go to Mexico with family and there was like fireworks. People at the stores there didn't care to sell whoever the things that are there because they're all legals. And the people in there knew me. They would be like, oh, Yancey's back. He's gonna buy X amount of pesos of like fireworks. Go get them all out. When I had the TFTI hangout and people showed up and just started doing it, I was like, damn, that's freaking dope. Like someone just literally came out here with the proper resources to be able to do that. I just thought, man, it would be so cool if I could do that with my mask. Because one day, at the end of a hangout, we were by 6th Street Bridge and I saw the fluid just chilling there and I asked him, I'm like, is it cool if I just try it? So I did a couple of them and there was Surin, it's Suri here. Took my photos and the first time I spit fire, I had already good content. I was just like, damn, people are gonna think I do this for real like all the time. And
he was the first one I've seen that could wear a mask and do fire.
To me, everyone that does all the smoke tricks on their Instagrams, to me, those are airbenders. I see myself as a firebender. It just feels really good to see them all kind of connect and like come together in one photo and have the photographer also put in his own art along with the airbenders and firebenders.
A friend of mine had a flamethrower, and I was like, oh, why not? I'll just go make my own. It's just Basically, a can of hairspray and a lighter, officer. I don't know what you're talking about. This ain't no flamethrower. But yeah, it's pretty simple. You just pop your pilot light on and then just off you go.
We shoot pictures of people in masks, and we shoot models who come to these meets, which is another class of people that come out. I think it's interesting for sure because they have a lot of different hats. Like they wear multiple at once. Like sometimes they put a mask on.
Artists such as Daft Punk and deadmau5, they have these masks where people know them by that, and like they just have a whole brand wrapped around that. And it's just something that I really like admired. So it's just something that I really wanted to try and do myself.
You have to tell me, why do you wear these black bags on your heads?
We're wearing these black bags because as Daft Punk, we're not showing our faces in pictures or television.
But why did you guys choose to go this way, to not show your faces in public?
We thought that it was interesting to separate the physical image and with the creation, and really being anonymous was something that we found was interesting.
The very first photo meet I went to was a Halloween meet. So when I saw people in masks, I thought, it's Halloween, that's what, that's what you do. And then when I started going to meets more, I realized this mask thing it's a theme.
I think some people wear masks because it's a way to express what you're feeling, And I'm not saying just because somebody's wearing a bloody mask, they want to murder people. It's an expression of frustration sometimes, of sadness, of different things.
I just love becoming a whole different person. I feel like a brand new me. And it's really cool. Like, I could be bloody as hell and I just act like my character, and it's so much fun. And people just look at you at the streets like, what the fuck is wrong with her? Yeah.
I felt like it was not that common to see a little girl in a bloody mask, It's some people do it because just why not? I mean, you look like yourself every day. You take selfies every day. Like, why not play with your creativity? Why not let your mind free and explore and to be like, F it, let's do this.
A lot of people, myself included, feel that like the world is a little bit judgmental sometimes because social media has a tendency to maybe make people kind of want to say something that they really want to say because there's a disguise behind it. They have a persona online that allows them to act out.
Saturday is one of the coolest, most loyal people I think I've ever met in my life. I mean, I'll never forget, like, one of the first meets that I saw him, and I was like, who is this clown wearing this fucking werewolf mask? But I took a picture of him, and it was a cool picture. It added a cool element. It was something new that I hadn't experienced or seen before. That was his creative addition to all the meets, was being in the mask and being a werewolf, dude. He was one of the first people doing it.
I saw people wearing masks at the meets, and I was like, that looks cool. I kind of want to get into that. But the main reason I wear the mask because at the beginning, I was getting so close, like trying to get a picture of someone, like, hey, dude, you're kind of in my way. Not trying to be a dick. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll move back. So I figure if I wear a mask, I can get closer, and it's like, oh, this guy was willing. That looked kind of cool in the background. So that was kind of like the reasons, but after a while, someone else told me, hey, can I just take a picture of you? And I was like, yeah, and that became like this whole, every time I come to me, hey, did you bring that mask? I'm like, yeah, like, can I take pictures of you? So it just became like a regular thing happening to me every time. And to me, I would have to pull out the wolf mask until you get tired of me, and they haven't got tired of once.
If I had another face that was not my face, this would be the face. I grew up in a place called Lima, Ohio. I was, one of few black guys there who was in other stuff like punk rock and metal and rap and all of it. Like country, I would listen to absolutely everything. I was like kind of in a way the outcast. And while everyone else would follow one lane, I was like, no, I want to do something else. I want to do this, I want to do that and that and that. It's like, yo, were you interested in that for? Were you supposed to do that? No. That's the wrong mindset. Not supposed to do is the wrong mindset. There is nothing in this world that you can't do. Just fucking do it. Just get out and do it. And that's what this personality was for me. This is just get out and do whatever the hell you want type of face. It's like, this is the face of someone who just does not care what you think, and he does what he wants.
They don't have to be themselves. It's just, they go to these meets, they have these masks, they can just be free. It's a way for them to just get out of their shell and just express themselves.
One of those people is like Desiree Raydeen. Her persona is really awesome, which would be Raylene. And I mean, when you meet Desiree on the street, she's a photographer herself, and she's really cool and really nice. And then you meet Raylene at the meets, and it's like a total opposite. Like, she's very hectic and crazy, and like makes you really uncomfortable, like, cause you're afraid of her. So I think that also goes into like the wearing of the mask. Like, some people have masks that they're known for, like everybody knows Yancey's mask, like that scarecrow kind of mask.
I know what people feel like when they get picked on, or when they feel that someone isn't accepting them. But at a very early age, I learned not to care. So when I would take photos, I could be whatever the hell, because cartoons are cool and I was okay with those. Movies are fine. Scary ones were the best because those would just resonate.
For me, whenever the few times that like I model for friends, and if I dress up a certain way, like it kind of helps me be a little bit more outgoing or a little bit more open than how I usually am on the regular when I'm just being myself and just walking around on any normal day.
For my mask, I'm a big anime manga fanatic, so I wasn't able to show that in high school. I was like kind of shy about it, but once I brought it in, people were like, that's a cool mask. And I know people have other masks just to express their emotions like through their masks. So it's like a second identity.
I think it's interesting because a lot of us wear masks at these meets, myself included. I wear a couple of different masks here and there. I'm working on new ones all the time. One of the biggest people in these meets, one of our founding kind of members of, I guess, the whole movement is Butch Locsin from LA.
Butch Locsin. I met him through the meets. I remember seeing him like come out, and he's a performer and he's an artist. So every time he came out, like it would be more extravagant and more random. And I remember seeing him like climbing on top of cars, like with smoke cannons, and like coming out with like nunchucks with smoke grenades attached to them. And he really encouraged and pushed like that smoke grenade movement in LA. I think before that, it was basically people standing there like holding a smoke grenade. And he really brought those smoke grenades and incorporated them into like performances.
My name is Butch Locsin. I am a performance artist from LA, and I make these skull masks from styrofoam. A lot of people say that I'm this avant-garde artist who was able to collaborate with a bunch of photographers to produce artwork. Now, I will admit something, that when I started progressing in the photo meets, I knew that I had the potential to blow up the way I did. As I started progressing, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. There is no other opportunity for me to present myself the way I do and then get replicated out there as quick as I was. I saw this as an opportunity for myself and for other people that I collaborate with to get us out there. I typically stay away from deep conversations about myself and even about my art. I always just do surface questions. And the reason being is because I like to be very non-objective. I don't like to place any concrete attributes to what I am and what I do. I always let what everybody sees me do be whatever their interpretation is. And I like to ask those people, well, what do you think it is? The reason why I do that is because it's allowing me to know if there's things I need to change, if there's things that I need to know what to do to get what I want across. I've been doing it for quite some time, and I've seemed to realize that there's actually people out there that really look deeply into my performance acts and who I am and my artistry. I was talking to this one girl, and she said that I feel that I'm watching you create artwork that you grew up with, and this is your interpretation of that artwork, and that's actually true. I grew up in Hispanic neighborhoods, and I saw a lot of the art that was created through a lot of Hispanic artists, and then this is my way of reacting to those arts that I saw when I was younger. Being able to study what I've done is probably the biggest part of the lead up to when I go to a photo shoot. And then when I actually get there, I'm like really focused. Even just thinking back of how hard it was for me to achieve things was just by creativity. I didn't have a lot of money, and I spent a lot of my own personal money in the beginning buying smoke grenades, making these masks, and it was a lot of sacrifice. And I didn't have all the tools. The truth is, I didn't. But I was blessed enough that I had other friends that did to help me create the artwork that I have today.
And I believe that inside of everybody is something great, whether it's in front of the camera, behind the camera, on the side of the camera, building a camera. It doesn't matter what that element is. Everybody is great at something, and when they play that role, this world becomes a better place. And helping people achieve that is usually the biggest hurdle. It's not do they want to do it, it's not do they believe that it would be great to do, it's can they do it. And getting them that can changes.
I see the meets as an Olympian. The Olympians, they go for training every single day. So when I go to the meet, I'm going to train my skills. I'm going to put myself in situations that I don't want to be, different situations, so I can get my skills, out of that.
You can't hate on meets, dude. It's a big community, and like everybody goes to learn. Everybody goes to like network, to meet each other. Every time you go there, you learn something new. You never like leave empty-handed.
It's a community. It's the first time that I see people working not against each other, people working to do better photography.
What are your settings? What did you use for that picture? What did you edit with? And a lot of people walk to these meets and ask people that, like, what kind of camera do you have? What kind of lens are you using?
It's very rare now that I see that, like, people, if they have questions, like, there's nobody there to answer them, or at least for me, like, I try to, help people out, because I remember struggling, like, trying to learn about, like, steel wool or astrophotography, and if you want to go out and do steel wool tomorrow, what do you have to do? All right. What I did was I went to the 99-cent store. I bought myself like a jump rope for 99 cents. I bought myself a whisk for 99 cents. And then I went on Amazon and I bought steel wool. It has to be like grade like 000 or 000, like really fine. It comes in little pads, like little scrape pads. So you have to like break it apart. You tie your rope, whatever you decide to use, to the bottom of the whisk. And then you put your pad inside, your steel wool pad, you put it inside this whisk. You gotta find like a big open place where you're not gonna burn anything down. You can go ahead and light it up, hit it with a lighter, or some people use batteries. For your cameras, you have to obviously know how to do long exposures. So you would want to set like an exposure of like maybe 5, 10 seconds, even 30 seconds, depending on the steel wool you wanna use. And as you spin, you get nice, bright red flowers.
They say everybody wants to be a photographer until you put your fucking camera in manual mode, which I think is completely true.
While I think digital cameras and the power of digital cameras have helped maybe everyone get into photography, it's only the few who decide to learn technique that really excel at photography.
This is not a workshop. We're not gonna charge you hundreds of thousands of dollars to teach you how to do it. You just came and you asked, and we'll tell you how to do it, and we'll help you to do it. So there is no better school in the world. One of the essential tools for you to communicate as an artist with photography is exposure. This is what I said to the people I teach photography. I said, if you take a great picture, but you don't understand how you take it, it's worth nothing. Yeah, you're an automatic and taking picture. Like, oh, look at that one. Yeah, can you reproduce this picture? Can you make it again? Did you understand what happened? No, it's worthless. I wish people use exposure within the manual, what is correct, and then breaking the rules to express themselves, with exposure. Shutter speed is like playing with time. Everything is in motion, and there is things that your eyes cannot see, but the camera can capture it. So if you can play with those time spaces, you came up with an amazing photograph. I'm lately getting into stroboscopic flash, which is you fire the flash several times in 1 second. So you get that action freeze and, and it's kind of a time lapse compressed in one single image. And I think it's very powerful. Well, the depth of field is crucial in a picture because you need to tell the viewer where to look first. And then their brains will go through the image. There is an invisible road across the image, but you have to tell them first where to go, where the story begins. I remember people getting crazy about the new cameras with, super higher sensibility, ISO, so you can shoot at night. Come on, you can. Higher ISO smells shit. Anytime it go up, it's terrible. For me, the ISO, it's always 100. And if I have to go up, I think the most, even if it's night photography, I'm going 400, that's it. It looks good in the camera. It looks good on Instagram, but when you blow up in the computer or you want to make a print, so all your work is worth nothing.
I love such iconic things that mean anything to the world, or anything to my life. I grew up watching these movies like American Me, Grease, and these were all movies that had one of my favorite landscapes, which was the 6th Street Bridge.
Ooh, that one meet, the last and final, the goodbye meet, it was hosted there at the 6th Street Bridge.
There was this photo meet the day before the 6th Street Bridge was going to be demolished, and we all met up.
It was the official day that this was the last day that people were going to be able to drive through the 6th Street Bridge before it was closed to the public.
Before this, the city had its own party for the 6th Street Bridge, which was awesome. They had a lot of vendors. They gave away T-shirts. But I feel like this was really the photographer's way to just send the 6th Street Bridge off.
I mean, anyone that was interested in photography knew about that spot, and unless you had a bar mitzvah or a wedding to go to, you were basically gonna be there.
I get there, everything was fine. You had the lowriders driving up and down for the last time, getting their sweet-ins. Some of these people, they've met their lovers, their wives, their husbands on these cruises and all this stuff. And for them, it was iconic being able to come from East LA into downtown Los Angeles. So I'm there, everything is beautiful. The cars are passing by. As a photographer, you're shooting these cars that are right in front of you. And now the cars, what they started doing is they started swerving around and they started stopping. People were seeing the cars. It was a hot moment for the drivers and the photographers. Now people are in the middle of the street. Guys are even fucking parking as far as the bridge itself. All this stuff is going on, and then eventually you have a patrol car that gets called in. So you have 2 officers, and then one more comes in. So now there's 4 officers and 200 citizens on this bridge, wilding out.
Eyewitness News reporter Amy Powell is live in downtown LA, where that landmark 6th Street Bridge had a spontaneous going away party tonight, and the LAPD responded. Amy.
The pictures change after the growing crowd blocks traffic and LAPD officers move in.
Tensions are high. Obviously, you have some people, they go, the cops are behind them, they're there, they're going like this, getting their picture taken. It's all sweet and whatever. I really forget the name of the girl that was the one, but I remember she had a skateboard. She got really close to them. And this is this whole thing. You don't ever get near a police officer with a skateboard, at least for me, being a Mexican.
After that girl got arrested, things just escalated. I think we started seeing helicopters coming in.
Shit's popping off, everybody's tensions are so they're so high that it's beyond belief that at any second, anything could happen.
And then you had Hura in helicopters, and then just Hura everywhere, literally.
I remember me being on the bridge, the metal part, and I was on there just flinging fire. And I remember the cop helicopter was on me. It was a cool moment, but it was fun. Luckily, I had my mask on, so no one knew who it was.
They were kind of doing some fire up there that was not right, I guess, and they were jumping on top of the bridge.
Someone in the crowd sets off a smoke bomb, and police order everyone to leave the area.
More cops are coming in from every single direction. The helicopters that came in, every division got called in from Los Angeles to show up. Yo, we're shutting this shit down. Everybody needs to get off. And so now you have everybody scattering, running around.
I mean, it got to the point where I think people thought we were having like a little riot, and they had one side filled with like 20 cop cars. They had the other side full of like cops in riot gear. And I remember my favorite photo from that was somebody holding up like an American flag, like standing in front of the SWAT, like police officers. I remember being a kid and just being like, damn.
They like made a line and they were just pushing people back, and it would just seem very excessive for a bunch of photographers.
Everybody's getting kicked off of the bridge in a manner that you would have thought that there was a shooting somewhere. It was something heavy. It was photographers and Angelinos just taking in what for them was a very important moment. But the whole time as they're lined up, all I could see is like, yo, this is nuts. I gotta shoot this. So I'm just shooting away. And I get this last photo, and it's once we're at the bottom, you know, the cops are completely lined up. You see the 6th Street Bridge, and the fucking moon was just rising that night. So it was huge in the back. None of my photos, like, you know, got the moon with full details because it was fully blown out. But that moon that was full and huge, that big, just like, you know, the whole moon, like full moon effect, it just got everybody going.
Get on the sidewalk right now! Boom, 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 boom.
They just saw kids doing fire breathing and doing steel wool and the smoke grenades. And if you were a cop looking at this, it looked like a riot. When I first got into the scene, it definitely looked like that. I thought that's what it was.
It was not like wild in which the news said it would, but it was just a good, fun gathering. It was just like, I don't think the SWAT team had to come down.
I'm very sad to see the old bridge get torn away, but I'm definitely excited to see this new bridge and a lot of the new features that it's gonna have. It's gonna be awesome to really explore that new structure.
What is a hashtag?
It's just like a way that the matrix of ones and zeros and binary code basically calculates how to find a picture.
Hashtags are awesome.
I think originally a hashtag was used so that people can categorize their photos, but I think now it's really become a way for people to reach out.
I use like certain tags that are specifically geared toward models and photographers. Like if you click it, you're gonna see photos from like everywhere.
Hashtag body paint, and then you click it and then you see everyone else who's tagged that as well.
Hashtag why do you even try? Those are so funny. When you're up and coming, hashtags are really important. What you're tagging, who you're tagging.
Hashtags are also a way of finding me, which is hashtag who's Trinity Corona.
I think a hashtag is what makes your picture visible. It means that if you make a really good picture, the best picture you can make, and you post it with no hashtag, it's invisible. It didn't exist.
So like when it comes to meets, like if it's for TFTI, usually if you put TFTI, well hashtag TFTI_LA or just TFTI LA, the images pop up there.
Would only put my tag on it because I didn't want other people to be seeing it in other countries, I wasn't interested in that. I wanted there to be a hub in Los Angeles.
I feel like hashtag is the hyperlink of life for photography for sure.
Hashtag feed the models.
My friends called me out. They're like, yo, you're using too many hashtags. Like, you stop with your hashtag addiction.
Organizations who've been, you know, riding with me from the beginning. People like Masked Ones, Brutal Mass, you know, the Masked Demons, TFTI LA, ShutterClick, of course, you know, because that's my baby.
I know a lot of people who are kind of like, forget hashtags. Like, I'm a no hashtag kind of person.
I don't use hashtags.
Once I started using hashtags and getting featured on pages, and that's how people started knowing who I was, like Moodygrams and Game of Tones and, you know, Aesthetic Tones, and all them are giving you the ability to advertise yourself to everyone, all their followers.
Sometimes they get featured on certain pages, so that's really cool. It really helps you build your followers. So if you're trying to get more followers, try to use as much hashtags as you can.
I don't feature people because I don't want people to feel like they're left out. I don't want people to be like, oh man, I pushed out all this awesome content and that page never puts my work up, because that's not my job. My job is to get you guys to get together, produce, and you guys stay on the tag. You guys comment. We need this to be a live tag.
And this is what all these huge accounts, they want for you. They don't want you to follow them. They don't want you to like their pictures. They want you to use their hashtags. So you think you're gonna be discovered because of you been using those hashtags, but the truth is that you've been used to make those people bigger and bigger and bigger. And the bigger they are, the smaller you become. You're getting invisible because of you been using the hashtags of these huge accounts. So that's why I came up with this hashtag responsibly.
Going to these photography meets and seeing all these different locations, meeting all these photographers and actually hearing the stories behind their images.
Well, first of all, Los Angeles is like pretty much the Disneyland to everyone in the world. We don't notice that because we take that shit for granted. We live here, we breathe this air, this beautiful weather. Even right now, like this is beautiful compared to what Chicago's enduring right now, or in New York, you know, it's so cold.
Well, LA is really special because I feel like you can get a nice variety. There's a lot of places where you can go to where it's very street, it's really grungy, and you get like a real, you know, like broken down feel, which I like sometimes. Or there's a lot of places you can go to that you can find a lot of really nice architecture. And there's a lot of nice hidden gems like Vista Hermosa Park where you can go and it's a wildlife preserve. So you get a real nature feel, but you're literally like still in the city. You can even get like really nice, beautiful shots of LA in the background.
I love the cityscape, I love the landscape, the art is amazing. You can get lost in the city and at the same time not get lost. Like there's always something new in every corner and there's inspiration everywhere.
The one thing I don't like about LA is the traffic. That's the one thing.
I think it's, out of all places, it's easy to be found here because we have that already existing culture of artists that come out of here.
I love it because I could fully express myself. People will just glance at me and just be like okay with it because they're used to the craziness they already see in Los Angeles, you know? It's pretty wild out here.
LA is super special to me. I grew up in, you could say East Side, Northeast LA, where it's pretty heavy on gangs. So I grew up in a community where all of us gang banged, you know? All of us were kind of sucked into that world. It's crazy, being an LA kid, you just don't know what your life is gonna be like, and you kind of have that thug mentality that Tupac gives you, you know, to live and die in LA, and that's how most of us grew up, you know. There's no way out of here. I never thought I was gonna ever travel in my life. Like, to me, I was a diehard LA kid, you know, who used to run the streets with my hoodlum homies, and, you know, and as I got older, a lot of them started going to jail. A lot of them started dying. A lot of them committed suicide. It's been a pretty intense ride, you know, seeing everyone I was brought up with kind of start falling out. And luckily, I had my education to kind of back me up.
I know we're all still just struggling artists, and I know we all still have a long way to go, but she seems to have gone the furthest so far. So it's cool to have somebody in the circle that's like, you know, that I can aspire to, like, hopefully be able to make a living doing photography one day like she does.
The variety and the diversity that you can find in LA is really dope. It's just easier to shoot here because so many people come here from other countries, other states, other cities.
We're in a huge melting pot. You get different feels in different areas. You can go to Chinatown, bam, you got Chinatown, you know what I mean? You don't have to go to China, you know? You wanna get a cool, like, foresty look, go to Sequoia real quick, bam, you're there already, you know? You wanna get a cool cityscape, hit a rooftop and it's there already. We literally could create our own little worlds within this little area, you know? You wanna get a Mexican vibe, you know, go to Mercadito, you know, go to Plaza Olvera, you know? There's so much shit you can shoot, you know? I just feel like we can manipulate weather a lot better and tones and atmosphere a lot better than anywhere else, for sure.
LA is the place for photography. I feel like LA is definitely the main place. I feel like a lot of people look to LA for inspiration, look to LA to see like what's going on, and then they take it to their own space.
So if you have a dream, this is the place where you're gonna find somebody willing to do your crazy idea. I mean, no matter how crazy you are, if you think about something, you're gonna make it. And this is what makes, I think, California different.
Over the years, like we've been to a lot of different locations. So like in the beginning, I would choose a lot of the locations that I remember that were out of public view. The reason that we go there is because we don't impede traffic or we don't impede the public. You know, there's not too many people complaining. I think after we let off like 15 smoke bombs and the fire department will show up and be like, hey, like take it down a notch. The locations that we choose, you know, like you can be out in the middle of the street is because there's really nobody around. It's like warehouses or like nobody's there. Most of the places that we've gone to that are very residential, like we kind of stopped going there for the reason that we did start bothering so many people. And we don't want to do that because we want to hang out as much as possible, like as long as possible.
So many stories on Bay Street. Bay Street is the dark street. Yeah, wow.
It's really dope because it's like a L-shaped alleyway, which also has a lot of really nice graffiti on both sides. Originally, when I wanted to go there, I wanted to use that alleyway. And now when people go there, they use like a completely different area. You know, like they evolved from one part of it to another part of it. Just over time, like that just randomly happened.
I went there, it was me and my friends, Hoodworth. We both went up there, we were just doing some shooting, pulling up to support TFTI LA meet. I remember how that whole night transpired, but there was one moment that I remember more than anything. It was that moment the car became introduced.
Bro, put the Cadillac in the middle? You don't have time for the Cadillac.
It was actually Alan who walked up to me because I didn't see the car at first. I was already like taking pictures for someone. He was like, hey, I want to get a picture of you by this car. And then I was like, what car? He pointed to the car. I saw the car. I was like, that is fucking dope. I was like, I am down. I want to stand on that motherfucker. And then I was like, dude, I wonder whose car that is. I kind of really want to stand on it now. And then the guy whose car it was happened to be like literally 2 people away from me. He's like, that's my car. Are you fucking for real? And it was this dude, JC. And he's like, yeah, dude, man, go ahead. Get on the car if you want. And I'm like, down. And I asked him like, yo, can you put it right in the middle of the street? I'm walking over to the car. And that's when Streetwise, he's over there. He's already by the area. He's like, wait, you about to get on the car? I was like, hell yeah. He's like, dope. He's like, I'm gonna be behind you. Is that cool? Because I want to get a shot from behind you. I'm like, hell yeah, that's cool.
So he had already done a couple of smoke bombs, and I just asked him like, hey, could you just do one more? And then he did one more, and then I just got behind the car. And
we go to crack this smoke, and then the rest was fucking history, man.
And there's that one person that like will go stand off to the side or like, you know, lay down on the ground or even go behind the person to get a completely different angle. And that's the person that like really will flourish or like really kind of advance.
When I would go to photo meets, it was like, how do I get the shot that nobody else is getting? You know, so I would kind of like look around and see how I could like get something different than, because nobody wants to see the same shit.
Slauson Bridge, I remember coming across Slauson Bridge like in people's photos, and that was one of the places that I was like, dude, I need to check this place out.
For sure, we're on top of a freeway, so all these cars, you know, hanging on us like all the way, you know, it's like you have like 200,000 people just looking at you.
When the idea came around, I remember telling Yancy, like, dude, like, I really think we should have a meet there. Like, it's dope. There's nobody to bother us. Like, it's a huge location. And at first we were kind of hesitant, but then finally I think I had brought it up to a couple of people and they were like, I don't know, like, people are very sensitive about locations, you know, and especially locations that aren't really well known. People were kind of like, dude, like, if you burn out this spot, like, I'm gonna hate you. And then finally I brought it up to Yancy and he was like, you know what, dude, let's just do it. Like, thug life. And so we threw our first meet there and it was dope. It's like the tunnel, so like the whole tunnel was just packed.
If you think about 200 people in a brick, you know, that it's closed, it looks like, you know, I'm not gonna be able to take one single shot. But I think this is a challenge as a photographer to go places where you have to challenge yourself to get something cool.
And people were still like popping smoke and doing fire, and so it was really dope. It's an interesting location because it's very close quarters. Even though it has like 3 train stations. Now I think people use the train stations more, but since that tunnel has the best lighting, I mean, I've gotten some really great pictures of Samantha Nicole.jpg, of Rexkless.Shadow. I mean, I've gotten some dope pictures there because that lighting is just perfect.
One day I saw on one of the accounts or the hashtags that there was a meet happening. So I was like, this sounds really, really cool. But you also have to understand it's kind of intimidating for somebody to go to something like that and not know anybody, especially if you show up and there's a lot of people there, especially if you might not be that confident with your photography skills and things like that. So there was a TFTI meet happening in downtown, maybe 2-3 blocks from where I live in Lower Grand. And I told myself, I said, you have no excuse not to go. I walk out of my apartment and I'm not even 1 block away from my apartment and 2 people are walking down the street and they go, are you going to the meet? And I was like, yeah, how did you know? They're like, because you're carrying a camera around.
Lower Grand. I feel like Lower Grand has become everyone's go-to spot. It's just easy. Like Lower Grand is your like Old Faithful. Like there's perfect lighting, there's dark and grungy.
It has like that open top where you can see like the city, you can see the buildings. It's just like really cool to photograph or film. It makes it really hard to stay off the street.
It's like being in the underground of the city. You have the Walt Disney Concert Hall right above you, and then we are down there, you know, making crazy fire, smokes. You know, we see the police coming, the security guys that's getting crazy about, you know, the fire alarms, and you know, you can see how we can own a piece of the city.
You can go there and shoot anything. Like you don't have to have lights with you. You can shoot all kinds of things. Like I've shot models there, I've shot cars there. It's interesting when you find somebody who's like never seen it. I mean, I remember me when I first heard about it and never being there. I'm seeing it in movies and like friends that I know are like, dude, that's Lower Grand. And you're just like, okay. And then you go there for the first time and you're just like, dude, it's dope. But now it's, for a lot of the people that have been shooting there for a long time, it's really become like a default place to go to. Because like I said, it's just easy to meet up there. It's easy to meet up there and walk anywhere else in LA. While most locations are based in LA, there are a lot of locations that are based outside of LA, San Pedro being one of them. They have the abandoned silo that's all covered in graffiti. You literally have to go through a fence and you're climbing down these broken stairs down into what looks like almost a giant pool that's covered in graffiti. Some of the imagery that comes out of that area is just amazing.
Some of the bunkers you can enter, found a way in where you would climb up a ladder, you would have to squeeze through that window, and you would land on a platform. Basically, that was your way in. It was completely pitch dark in there. I didn't even realize it had a lot of graffiti until the fire breathers started breathing fire there. And at that point, that was the only light we had was from the fire breathing. It was Navix and Apollo Ablazed, and I Am Just Cause was doing smoke grenades. There were a few people who had LED lights. We kind of had to rely on each other to guide us through the bunkers, which were actually at times very narrow. But I was glad I was talked into going in because I got a lot of great shots. However, I think the biggest challenge was not so much the photography, it was actually getting out.
Probably my most favorite photograph I've ever taken would have to be a few of my photos I took on the St. Thomas Bridge over in San Pedro. But like one day, like just me and my friend, just like, he hit me up one day randomly. He was like, you want to just go to the bridge? Like just climb it? I was like, why not? Like just on the most randomest day, like in the middle of the day. It's like, man, we're really gonna do this? Are we really gonna do this? As the day was going, like we started like prepping for it. We were like thinking like, should we wear a harness? We ended up just going for it. We were just like, let's just show up and just see how we go. Like we didn't have anything planned. We parked like a few like streets down from the bridge. We did it when it was like rush hour on that bridge. We just ended up running on the bridge and like started running on the freeway. And like as we're running on the bridge, everyone's like honking at us, like yelling at us and stuff. Like we were just like, fuck it, keep going. Eventually we got to like the middle point of the bridge where you climb onto the actual like pillars. That's when we're like, there's no stopping now, we're already here. Let's do it. Keep in mind those pillars are like, it's just like a round tube. And like on the side is all just 2 wires that you hold on to. You just climb to the top. You're just kind of like balancing on the wires, just climbing. As we got halfway, it started to sway because all the wind and like once you get to the top, it starts to get like really like wobbly, it's like real unstable. So like at first I was like, man, stop moving it because my homie was behind me. And like we're like, stop shaking it. And he was like, it's not me. That's when we thought like, damn, this is really just the winds like pushing it around and stuff. Like, it's not us. And like we just kept going and going. It took us about like 15 minutes to get to the top, just climbing that pillar. Everyone honking at us and stuff, like still seeing us from up there. And once we got to the top, it's a walkway, like a whole hallway, where like you can hide right there. Like you can peek over and see over the bridge. And as we got to the top, we see like cops like coming on like going onto the entrance of the freeway. They ended up swerving like side to side, like, and he got off the freeway and came back around, went on the bridge one more time. And the second time he had a spotlight, like looking up on the bridge. Like the whole time we were like seeing that, we were just hiding, like laying down up there, like just hiding. We did not want to come out. It's a hallway where you can't really like see through. Like it's a whole wall. And like even if you put a light or anything, you can't see anything, like it's hidden. And like we got lucky that they ended up just leaving. They got tired. They probably thought we jumped or something and we were already dead. That's when we just like basically got our clearance to like shoot. When the cops left, we got up there, we just started like doing those crazy like standing on the pillar shots, like how we were walking up to like reenact it. Basically, we just had fun up there. We spent about like 30 minutes up there before we ended up like finding a way back down, because we were thinking like, how are we gonna get back down? Are we gonna climb back down these pillars again and risk getting caught? And like that's when I just started searching, and like I went like right where the hallway was. Towards the end of it, there was like just a huge like circle right there, like a hole. And like it ended up being like a dark ladder all the way to the bottom. We're all like, let's just take it down here and see where it takes us. Maybe we get to the bottom and be able to get out easier. And we just like took it all the way down. It was freaking hot as hell in there. You can like stop and like rest in a little spot. You can sit down. It looks like workers like set it up like that. It's honestly like one of the craziest like things ever. Believe it or not, the next day, I ended up going again by myself just to get more shots.
Ascot Hills was a really nice location just outside of LA. It's like a hiking trail. The first and only meet that's ever been there was a Conquer LA. They were doing a contest.
We saw that Conquer was having a meet again, and they hadn't had one in a while. And then like a bunch of photographers started hitting us up and saying, are we gonna come, are we gonna come? So we tried to do something big for that meet.
How about for this time, we do a Frida, but a different version of Frida, like a modern day. What would she look like if she was here right now, you know, in society?
Oh, it was really nice to see them come out and dress up in this Frida Kahlo outfit, because for them it really means a lot. I know that it's somebody that they look up to.
To me and my mom, Frida means a lot. She showed all women that we're strong, and that just because we have a different look or we're judged doesn't mean that we're different than everyone else.
You know, we didn't do the completely covered up. We didn't do your traditional flowers in the hair. We didn't do your typical, usual Frida look. You know, we went a little modern, but we still kept a lot of her signature look. The unibrow, the braids were still there. The red lips were still there. She was wearing a glitter skirt underneath. It was glamour meets Frida meets urban, you know? It was cool to express what we thought she would look like if she was here now.
There was this big contest, so Butch and I, we decided to be Jack and Sally. And I love Jack Skellington. Ooh, I love that movie. He had just bought a Jack Skellington suit, and I loved it. And I was like, dude, like, we should collaborate. Like, I should be Sally and you should go as Jack, like Effie, you know? He was like, yeah, like, let's do it. And I was like, okay. And my cousin had helped me paint myself, but it was bad because at the time, like, I didn't have the right paint for the body, like body paint. I would use acrylic paint, and I didn't know it would clog up your pores. Like, no wonder I would break out after. Honestly, when we were performing, I was just like coping because I was just getting into playing with smoke grenades. So it was like really hard like to get the texture right and the angle right for the smoke to come out a nice way, I guess you can say. And then you always have to be careful because of the wind. So I was mainly just paying attention to that and not getting burned or the smoke in my eye. But I was enjoying myself. Like, it was a fun experience. Like, everybody was dressed up. Trinity was Frida Kahlo. Just like, oh my God, like, you're the best Frida Kahlo. Yancy looked really mysterious that day. I was like, that's him? Who's he hiding from?
There was a lot going on, but it's a hiking trail. And as I mentioned, like, dude, I mean, it's a hiking trail. I really didn't want to walk around. We start walking up the mountain because the sun's going down and a shadow starts overcasting into the mountain, and we're basically racing up the mountain before this shadow. And I'm letting other people take their shots. And finally, like when I felt like people had taken like adequate amount of shots, I was like, like, hey guys, like, is it cool if I take my own? So I set her up like facing towards me, away from the sun. The sun was setting behind her. So I remember seeing the flare coming in right behind her. And it's very hard to get that. Like you have to be at a perfect angle, like a perfect spot. So I remember like kind of swaying back and forth, like trying to find like that sweet spot. And I can hear these photographers sitting behind me, like talking crap behind my back. And I remember like sitting there laughing to myself, like, dude, shut up. I'm trying to get this. So I remember taking like, I think 5 shots, and like I just put my camera down because I couldn't get, like I thought I hadn't gotten it. And I think the day before the contest ended, I was like, all right, it seems like a good day. So I let out the shots, and yeah, like the next day, like I managed to win that contest.
It was a great picture too. Like he got the sun on point.
The follows just rolled in, and we were like, what's going on? Because we didn't even see we got featured until they started going like bing, bing, bing. I was like, what?
Broadway is another of my favorites. It always surprised me, where is the police in this city? We're burning out cars. We're, making fire. We're on top of the, the furniture of the city. We're making, smoke grenades, and there is like 300 people just flashing their camera, and there's no police. So we have the perception like, okay, we can do whatever we want. That's one of my favorite locations. The lights of Broadway, they're very special.
For the Palace or like all the theaters that are there, they're really nice at night, especially obviously because they're on. But like they create bokeh. They're in the background, they're just there like pa, pa, pa.
Dark corners of the city, I think they're amazing for a photographer.
People pass by and they're just like freaked out, like what the hell's going on? Or what is this? You just see a lot of like weirdos just dressed up, like in clown suits.
Going out there, putting yourself in a fast-paced situation where you have to get your skills, pa, pa, pa. But then after the meet, it comes one of my favorite parts. I just go home, I can help myself. I have to see the whole thing. You start retouching one of them, and then another one, and then another one. And then I can help myself. I have to polish, like a bunch of them.
It's crazy because even during the meet, there's already one person that has posted a photo of me. And I'm just like, what the hell? Like, you literally just see them stuck on their phone, just editing them. Yeah, and then they post it. But like once I get home, I check, and then usually it's 1 or 2 pictures that have been posted of me. I enjoy seeing all kinds of pictures of TFTI.
I know for a fact that the people tells you, no, don't post more than 2, 3 pictures a day on Instagram. I don't care. I have so many good pictures that I just wanna, inoculate the Instagram.
If someone's saying really nice things to me and I think that they're being genuine, then it means a lot to me, because in my head I'm just like, damn, that's tight. Like that person, whoever it may be, wherever they're from, doesn't matter how close in proximity to me they are, it feels really nice for someone to genuinely say something that's good about your work. But on the same note, I like when people tell me, even if it's 2 comments, if they mean it, if they're thinking like, oh, this could have been better if you worked on that, then it makes a big difference to me, because then my paradigm shifts to like that focal point. Everything else I already know how to do well. So then I need to work on my shadows not being pixelated, because I like brought their like shadow value too much, or like the brightness just being super overblown with all the details. So I take it well depending on who it is.
A lot of us put quotes, or we create a caption underneath our Instagram. Each photo for me is kind of like a feeling. And like when I put that feeling in there, it needs to have a little description, or sometimes it's like short, just 1 word or whatever it is, and like whatever I feel like it needs. That's like a reflection of everything that went into it usually.
In Instagram, everybody's a philosopher. If you read the quotes of everybody's posts, that's one of the things that I don't like about those pictures, is that people has the pressure of, I have to be super smart with my sentence, where I think we're losing the track of what is important, which is the picture.
I think location is prime when shooting any sort of videography, any sort of set. So like for me, like being exposed to these new epic spots was actually pretty dope. So like the first one was at Street Meet LA, and it was under the Suicide Bridge in Pasadena. And like when you first walk up to it, like you're walking down this trail and you don't realize that it's there. And then all of a sudden you see these trees, and as you're walking past these trees, see this amazing arch. And I was like, oh my God, this is super sick. And like at some point we're directly underneath it. And to me, I was like, I would have never known about this spot had I never went to this meetup.
The Street Meet LA started up kind of up top, and we walked down this trail till you get to like this lagoon type thing. It's kind of creepy under there.
John, or Cinema Aesthetic, somehow managed to climb up some part underneath the bridge that was pretty high. I took a picture, but I didn't post it because it wasn't a very good shot. But I just took it just because I was like, who climbs up that high?
The one picture that I got that I distinctly remember, after we left the bridge area of the meet, there was like a long road back to the cars. And I just had Derek stand right in the middle of the street with his camera out with his mask on, and I took a picture of him. I posted it the next day, not really thinking anything. That picture from that meet got me, 5,000 plus likes, and I have no idea how it happened like that, but it's the most liked picture I've ever gotten, so.
I've been in photography about 1.5 years, so this was about 6 months ago. I was going with, I don't know if you heard of Wacko Films. I started shooting with him, and he's like, oh, let's go to Suicide Bridge. I heard it's a tight view for long exposures at night and whatnot. But he said there's under construction some cool stuff. There's some cranes that we could probably jump on, or, we'll figure it out. Want to go? And I'm like, yeah, sure, let's go. So we went like around 9, 8 p.m. So we get there, and there's a new no trespassing sign. We're like, fuck it. We're about to set up our shot, and then he's like, oh, I need to pee. I'm like, oh, okay, well, go pee. He's like, all right, hold on. Don't take your shot yet. I'm gonna go pee. So my friend went to go pee, and I'm right there just sitting on some rocks. And I was just looking up, and I was like, damn, this is pretty creepy in here. Like, it was just so dark, And then they had told me that was a mental institution at one point. So I was just looking at it like, this is fucking creepy. I don't know why, but I had a really negative, ugly feeling in my gut. And then I see Wacko come back running, breathing really hard. Dude. I'm like, what? Chill. What? He's like, there's a fucking dead body back there. I'm like, no way. I thought he was kidding because he always jokes around. And I'm like, shut up. He's like, no, I put it down. It's a dead body over there. And he's like, his face is completely pale white. But yeah, it was extremely disturbing. And we called the cops, and ABC News came, and they interviewed us, and it was freaking pretty intense. It was intense. Who would have thought that I would have found someone who just committed suicide in Suicide Bridge, It was super cliche as hell,
If you start to see like there's random trends that come and go, and for a long time, abandoned places in LA were like the thing. That was what you had to do. Like if you were a photographer, you picked up a camera, you had to go to an abandoned place. I mean, I think even I had been to a few, and there was so many that I wanted to go to, like the Hawthorne Mall and some of the different hospitals, because it was just something that was completely different at the time.
For a while, me and my friends were like the people I shot with. Our big thing was trying to find like locations, different spots people have not found, like so abandoned buildings, abandoned warehouses. Once I took a shot of that, I know my team's starting to go up.
It takes a certain kind of person to want to like go into abandoned places or to trespass or to be in places that you're not supposed to be. It's nice to have a friend like Derek because otherwise I'd probably just be doing this shit alone.
I say don't go alone. Have someone come with you just in case. And always wear some kind of hard shoes.
It's okay to like risk some things, but not, I mean, maybe your freedom because you're trespassing or something like that. You don't want to risk your life. Like, you don't want to hang over the edge of a building and like lose your grip. Derek gets a little close. I don't know why he does that, but. I mean, I've always liked to be in places I'm not supposed to be, so that's like automatically a motive, As I've progressed in photography, I've like really focused on if I see a shot, I'm gonna do everything I can to go get it. Even right now, we're in a spot that like I've been kicked out of this spot before. I've been told by security guards you can't film here, you can't shoot here, which is most spots like rooftops that you go to. Eventually, a security guard or somebody's gonna come up and be like, "Sorry, it's time to go." Like, I will say though, I've never been arrested. In all my years, I've probably hit most of the rooftops in LA. Never been arrested, and most of the security guards are like, "Oh, that's pretty cool," or "Just leave." Only one time, like there was a small incident, but that we still got out of that, you know. So.
I remember one that was like a crowd favorite was like everyone used to call it the dollhouse, which was like on 3rd and I want to say like Broadway. It was like a burned down storefront. I have no idea what they made in the front, but if you were able to get in, you could go up the stairs and half the roof was missing because of the fire.
It had dolls, well, mannequins everywhere, all around it.
Some street artists went in there and put all these heads of dolls like in the window.
It used to be used for like art installations, so you'd randomly find things in there. And one of the things that stayed in there for a long time were like random doll heads and like doll bodies that were left there. Hence, like the dollhouse. You have to be really careful because the floorboards were like half missing because of the fire. You can get on the roof and get a nice view of the city, or like you could walk down the halls and you have like this eerie feel of the burned down building. Or, I mean, they even had a basement you could go down into, which was the creepiest thing ever because it felt like you were in a Saw movie.
And I would never go downstairs though. That was hella dark. I was like, nope.
It was a dollhouse Bando because some of the street artists had gone in there and put all those doll heads in there. But it was kind of, after that, it was the McDonald's Bando because, you know, they served over 99 billion photographers, you know.
There's still people now that I know that like to chase bandos, like Chamo or a lot of people in the Inland Empire. They have a lot of open spaces and they look for just bandos all the time.
About 2 years ago, went on my first Bando trip. It was a abandoned military base. There's a lot of history there, you know, not only for me, but you know, my grandpa was stationed there, my dad was stationed there, and now to see it the way it is, all just falling apart, you know, some of it's getting remodeled or torn down now. So I just kind of like to go back once in a while, just get those last images before it's all gone. I showed my dad a few, but he's like, whatever about it. He says they're cool and all, but you know, that this is my thing to do, you know, going to abandoned places. But he supports that what I do,
So my favorite places to shoot are abandoned places, because I think they're just so raw and so cool. 4 years ago, I fell into very severe depression. And so what happened was, I didn't really do anything with my life. I had nothing to really do. I was kind of just at home. And I made an Instagram to force myself to keep taking pictures and get out of family problems and get out of my household. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna get better at this. I can't just stay home. I can't keep crying about the past. I can't keep saying how my life is so shitty and so stupid. So my nostalgic text came from the rock bottom depression I had when I was admitted to the hospital. Prior to that, I took a contemporary art class. And they were talking about a lot of artists like James Turrell, Jackson Pollock. And so I had a lot of time those 4 days in the hospital. And I was actually thinking about, you know, what can I do that's different and can help me relate to a lot of people, that I can actually help people out. So I took random pictures and I would put text messages on these. They're real text messages, and they were all from people that hurt me in my life. You know, it could have been ex-friends, ex-girlfriends. When those text messages were chosen by me, I would find them on my phone and cut them out and I would put them there. From there on, I started doing nostalgic texts, which brought out my real life, because no one knew my life. Everyone thought I was just this kid who did whatever it is, just went to some parties and hung out with everyone. My real life was getting heartbroken and just being so sad all the time. That really helped me cope with my feelings, and it helped other people cope with their feelings, which is super cool. And it seemed like a lot of people really received those really well, because the past year or two since I've made these messages, I've had late night talks with a bunch of people talking about how they just want to end it and how they can just relate to me. They don't have to feel like no one wants to hear them because they're too sad, it's too depressing or whatever. And in the comments, it's actually really great. People actually, say that they relate to me. Well, I never got one negative comment. Actually, my buddy texted me and he said, hey, do you do that nostalgic texting? It's really depressing. And I was like, thank you, because that's what I kind of need to go for, kind of have people feel that emotion that I have and that other people have. So I think the feedback's been really great so far, and I'm really happy about that.
Everyone that I encounter is going through something, whether it be divorce, whether it be you lost your job, any situation in life. Everyone that I've met here has turned to this one thing that brings us all together. And same with me, everyone has hardships, and photography is an eye-opener. It's a passage. It's something that you can grasp onto and grow. Because you can learn from anybody. I have dudes that tell me that I inspire them and they learn from me, and I don't see it. Like, I'm just out here taking photos, doing what I love. I'm not here to try to be above anybody, to try to belittle somebody. We're all equal.
I've seen a lot of people that come out randomly to LA just to come to a meet. So if you happen to be in LA or close enough and you see a meet, I would definitely come out to get that experience. We're very lucky in LA to be able to have that community. I've met a lot of people and talked to a lot of people that are from around the world that don't have that. Whatever your passion might be, whether you're an artist or a performer or whatever, and you see that there's a meet going on, I would definitely come out and see who you might network with.
People look at what we're doing here and they're imitating it all over the place for us, so it's kind of cool.
I do get a few people from around the world, like Taiwan and things like that, that'll hit me up. It seems like they're very taking a lot of inspiration from a lot of the things that come here. And I've seen some of their photos, and their mass photos are crazy, and their smoke photos are almost just as crazy as ours, or sometimes even crazier.
I've seen some people in Germany. Actually, the smoke grenade's illegal in Germany, but this one guy somehow got it in there and showed me pictures.
One of the photographers I've come across being Cinebox, who's a German photographer, and she actually comes out with a lot of dope composites. She likes to take a lot of different images and splice them together to create a whole new image. So having her actually come out from Germany and actually meeting her at a TFTI was, not only was it great for her, but it was great for us because we actually get to see and meet somebody who, draws inspiration from us and that we draw for inspiration from.
I had these amazing 9 days of shooting, meeting all the people that I just know from Instagram, and now I know the real people behind all the accounts. And the community here in LA, that's so impressive. My friends in Germany say, wow, you're meeting all the stars, because all the shooters here from LA are kind of stars. And I was meeting them and it was like, yeah, maybe they are stars, but they're also normal people, just like you and me, and that's amazing. I guess I have so much new idea and I can bring it to Germany and start something new over there to maybe build a bigger German or even European connection.
A lot of my friends are musicians, so I started kind of catching the eye of the musician scene. Even not just musicians, but their fans. So now I have fans that are diehard fans, like they're rapper fans. And it's so cool going to different parts of the world and they know who you are and they recognize your work, and now you become this icon to them more than just a photographer.
It's a really good feeling when you see all these people in your photo, not because of the number, just because of how connected it feels. When one of my pictures goes into the popular page, then everyone sees it. You get so many people commenting from different languages and different regions of the world. This girl from England asked me about the materials to use, and I told her where to buy it and what brands to use and how to use it properly without causing any injury or to herself. So those are, I think, the most rewarding, because it's just these people from all these different regions just talking to you so easily.
It's crazy that people from all the way around the world are looking at my posts.
Dude, a lot of people from New York like my pictures, and they're always like, when are you gonna come out to New York? And I'm just like, damn, I don't know. Soon, maybe.
People come from all types of places. We've had people from Japan, China, all kinds. Korea loves to send us message. People in other places are seeing the reach is crazy, like I said. And one day we went to an event and there was a lady from the Getty Museum there. And she was like, you're that girl. You're the girl in the outfits. And she was like, I would love to work with you. Hit me up, you know, this is that. And I was just like, dang, like, there's really people looking at this. It's crazy.
This is like a class photo.
Tonight, TFTI is turning 2 years old.
Happy anniversary at TFTI. Wow! Yeah!
It's just crazy, the different people you meet over the years and the way you take your art and expand it and the practice and just where I've landed from where I've started to now. And just to see some of these people still here after 2 years, it's just amazing.
It's pretty badass to be able to gather like hundreds of people every week, every single week, back to back. Having like a fucking art show live in the street, not at a fucking venue or a little gallery, you know, it's in the street.
I think the reason to why this is so exciting for everyone is because all of us are amazing individuals and we all have something amazing to bring and to create. Tonight you will see a lot of fire performers, including myself. We are so passionate about that, as well as people with like costumes, cosplay, a whole bunch of different stuff. And honestly, it's thanks to you guys. You guys are like a second family to me, and I love you guys, and I will keep coming as long as, you know, I can and I'm allowed to. Thank you so much for everything. Like, you guys are great.
I used to be that person that's already afraid to be out in public around a big crowd. Well, if you think your bubble is already bad, this is a great way to pop that bubble and attract more people, and then you realize how many friends you can actually make.
You know, thanks Yancy, TFTI, everybody looks forward to it every week. It's a highlight of the week, and that's the nice thing about this photography meet. It's kind of like a school. Everybody comes here, you learn all the time. We're all students here.
I feel like it's a really positive approach. A lot of people here have been really good to me. I've been giving me so much time to learn with them, to shadow them, and just show me tricks and everything, and I feel like it's a really good push.
So everyone is amped tonight because it's like the 2nd year anniversary. Say what's up to Yancy and Hector and congratulate everybody. Total party mode. You could see back there, it was crazy tonight. Lots of good stuff. Tons of crazy clowns. Some dude was he climbed the pole twice. Honestly, it's not good because if he falls and gets killed, it hurts all of us. But still, it made for a good photo.
Looks like a lot of people tonight. Looks good. Anniversary's great. Everybody's having fun, smiling. A lot of fire. Everybody likes fire, right? Happy birthday to TFTI! Everybody, happy birthday, TFTI!
Terrible tunes, terrible tunes. Like, it says TFTI LA in there somewhere.
I hope people find TFTI LA as special as I have for the 2 years I've been doing it, because no matter what anyone's going through, if they come here and for the most part, what they've told me, they feel welcome. So that's really what the goal has been. And if you can show up or if they show up and you go back home feeling even better than you did when you first left, then I think that it's a great thing to be continuing to do. And even if I don't do it, there's a lot of other people doing it. So check out any of them while they're there, because sometimes something might change and you might not get to experience something that was really easily accessible at some point.